Hi everyone, my name is Matt. I'm here with Starflight Creations, my channel on YouTube where I talk about my cross stitching. This is my 6th floss tube with everything that I have cross stitched since November 22nd. I do apologize for my video on November 22nd, my 5th one. Somehow the audio files got corrupted, and so there was no audio. And unfortunately at this point I can't figure out how to fix that to get that back up there, so that will just be a learning opportunity for me. And so I apologize about that. And I will try to catch everybody up on what I was talking about when everybody couldn't hear me. To start off with, last time I had just received my round robin. So I am part of the Stitching Connection, which is a round robin being put on by Jason X Stitches here on YouTube. And my group finished our first rotation, so we switched and sent our projects off to the next person on the list. My project was a dragon that everybody was stitching their own dragon, turning it into their own colors. The one I received was one where they had taken the pattern and divided it into 4. And so everybody will be stitching a 4th of the pattern. And hers is Patchwork de la Plague by Jardin Privé. Here's what it will look like when it is finished. And so she had finished her quarter of it. So I went and put in 166 stitches, and so I took this top border and took it all the way around and finished off, so that will be my quarter of the pattern. And then I put in the brown edging that will go and separate all of the blocks. I got started on that. There, that way you can see it a little bit better. And then I got started with the wave, extending that into that 3rd wave there. So extending that out. And so I put 166 stitches into that. I was going to keep that as my daily stitch and do 1 day on that, and then 1 day on my other daily stitch of House of Book Dragons. But that was one stitchy session, and I felt like a lot got done. And since I have 3 months to do it, I decided to have that one not be a focal piece right at the moment when I have a lot of other stuff going on. And so I did that one, and I'm going to keep making sure I touch it at least once a week, just that way it keeps going forward a little bit, but not quite the daily stitcher I was planning for it to be. And so the next one that I did was House of Dragons by the Stitch Crypt, which was a new start last time. And so last time I had put in 709 stitches into it to get up to here. And as you can tell, I switched out the colors on my dragons, because she had these purple dragons that were breathing air, and that just didn't make a lot of sense to me. So I switched out the dragons for my own color scheme to make them fit more the fire lizards from Anne McCaffrey's. And so since then I have put in 906 stitches, which brings me up to 1,615 stitches of the 5,933 total, which puts me at 27.2%. And this is what it's looking at now. And so, as you can tell, I have extended the house down. I brought in the flames that the dragon is going to be breathing now. And then I have came down here and started my second gold dragon. And then the only other color substitution I made was that these sparkles here were called for in DMC 10, and I just went ahead and used a purple there, just because I replaced the purple in the dragons. I felt that the purple there was a little bit more magical than the black was. And so that was my daily stitching there. Which I've been quite happy with. I have, since I started my new stitching game, only missed one day. So from October 28th till now, I have literally missed one day of stitching. So I am quite happy with that. And so my stitching game is inspired by Jessie Marie Does Stuff here on YouTube. She created a game that she called Milestone Manor to help her get milestones on her projects. And I really wasn't looking for a lot of milestones. A lot of my projects are really at the low end, maybe only a couple hundred stitches in them. And so I just kind of wanted to touch my projects more. So I took her idea, as she described it, and turned it into my own D&D type thing, holding true basically to the majority of what she had, just changing some of the, basically what I'm looking for. So I have been pulling up fantasy maps that I've been finding online and making my way through them. The first one that I pulled up was the graveyard, because I started it right at the beginning of October, so I felt like a spooky theme matched, and so, or at the end of October, and so I was exploring the graveyard, and the last room that I had there in the graveyard, I pulled up my magic book. Here's what it will look like when it is finished. This is by Tiny Cross Stitches, I found on Etsy. It has 124,573 stitches total. Here's what it looked last time, where it had 282 stitches in. Since then, I had rolled 500 stitches, and I made that goal plus an extra 6 stitches more. So I put in 506 stitches into it. So it's now at 788 stitches. And so here it is, what it is looking like now. And so I went in and put in all of this black and brown, and then came up here and put in all of this light gray and this white, which is really hard to see. But I was quite happy to get a good chunk of progress on that. It's not quite making anything quite distinct yet, because it's kind of up in a dark ink spatter of like dark ink along the side, but it is getting a lot of the progress, so I was quite happy with that. And so then I figured after the graveyard that you would naturally run into a church. So my little adventure is running into this church. And so to the first big main room here that you see, I spun my wheel and ran across Hogwarts. This is a free pattern by Dark X Stitch here on YouTube in her Facebook group. She offers it for free. And so I rolled my dice and got 200 stitches on this one. Last time it looked like this, where it had 148 stitches on it. And so I put the 200 stitches in to bring it to 348 out of 227,500 or 700, which is 0.2%. So here is what it's looking like. And so this one is my first lower left hand corner start, which I did because a lot of the other people have cropped out the little bridge that's in there, and I really loved the look of the bridge, so I decided I'd start here, and my goal was to work up to the bridge, but instead I've been working this way, and so mainly what I did last time is fill in it kind of done a checkerboard pattern here at the bottom, and so I filled that in and then extended it over here because those were the same color. And so with that, I have now completed 5 bosses I have defeated. So I have earned 5 boss keys and earned a new start. I am really close to making my 1,000 points of experience, therefore being able to get into level 2. So I'm hopeful that the next one will pop me there. So I have decided to put that one on pause, or my Darkwood Keep on pause at the moment, so I haven't rolled the next room, just because the next little bit I'm about to go into some Christmas stitching, and so I kind of wanted the extra time to do that, where I'm not having to worry about when I'm getting my stitches in and possibly rolling any punishments. So I decided that I'd put that on hold while I do the Christmas stitching, and as soon as my Christmas stitching is done, I will pick it back up again. And then I did happen to have one day where I had some free time, and so I did work a little bit on living room set number 2. This is by Alina Lardsova. I believe that the pattern is now retired. I can't find it anymore. I found it on the My Bobbin set. But this is what it will look like when it is completed. I have the full 4 pattern set, 1 for each of the common rooms. And so last time, though no one was able to hear it, I did say that I was going to put this one away for a while. But I was quite happy with how much coverage I was getting, because the last time I really filled in a large chunk of this, and so I was really happy with how the holes were vanishing, and so this time I pulled it out and I just kind of kept up on it, except I also put in some of this brown over here and some of these greens, just because I happen to have those colors. Like I was doing the greens up over here, and then I just kept using them over there because I had it on my thread and I could see it in Pattern Keeper over there. So I only put 33 stitches into this. It was basically just a couple of strands. So last time it was at 17,260. Now it's at 17,293 of 24,627, which is 70.02%. So I was kind of happy to keep moving around on that. I'm not going to say I'm going to put it away again in case I do decide to keep working on it. I am kind of keeping it not put it away, so that way if I do decide to keep doing it some more, I could. But I do think that it will probably be put away. I finally got the first card from the Witchy Stitches Tarot set, the Fool, to go into my Pattern Keeper. It was really struggling for a while, and since I've got my frame up to the point that I could stitch that first card, I think I might use that one as my free time stitching, just because I kind of want to have a large amount of progress on it. when I take it to the retreat in April in Colorado for the Witchy Stitcher. So that's at least my plans that way going forward. The rest of my plans. So my Christmas stitching. Last time I had shown off the Mothman that I'd completed from Lola Crow's Studios, which I ended up sending off to Jason X Stitches. He ended up being who I got as my partner in the Winter Exchange. And that was my first time making an ornament, and I kind of had a lot of fun with that. And so when I was telling my mom about it over Thanksgiving, she was... Well, first of all, she said something that kind of like hit really hard when she was like, "Oh, why didn't you make anything for me?" And I was like, "You never asked for any." And then she was like, "Well, that's because you always make things so huge and it takes you forever to complete, and you never get anything done." And I was like, ouch, but also true. So she was like, "I really like these ornaments and I'd love to have something that you'd stitch." So I basically went like, "Well, tell me which ornament you want and I'll make you one for Christmas." So I have now got an ornament for her that I'm going to be making. I also am going to be making a ornament I thought I had it to hand. Oh well, I have a pattern from Teresa Winsler that's got a bunch of fancy stitches ornaments on it. And I'm going to be making one of them for Megan. I think it's MJ Stitches 23 here on YouTube. She was kind of the one that kind of gave me that last push I needed to get onto YouTube, and she just has this bright enthusiasm for cross stitch, always just excited about learning something new, challenging herself with a new project. So I feel like I'm going to take this one on for her, kind of challenge myself with all of these specialty stitches, these blended threads that I've never done before. So I've got those two stitches that are ornaments that I am going to knock out for Christmas. And then the rest of my plans are basically more towards 2026. I did decide to go ahead and participate in the HAID 2026 Stitch Along. I wasn't going to. Quite frankly, I looked at a lot of the patterns and nothing was really speaking to me. And a lot of them were AI, and most of the ones that were like milestone things that you could hit or that you could earn as rewards were either AI or just weren't appealing to me. And so I was going to sit it out and just focus on my HAID from 2025 that never basically got more than like 100 stitches in it. But then I saw on someone else's YouTube where they were talking about the limited, the exclusive, that's the word I'm looking for, the exclusive Amy Stewart chart. Unlike most, I got extreme FOMO over that and decided I couldn't miss out on that. So I did decide that I'd do the HAID one, but like most of the others, I am just going to be focusing on doing that one page, getting that one page finish, and earning that exclusive Amy Stewart chart. I did choose the skulls. I believe it's called Veritas. So I will be doing that one. And so I will start that one probably in January when that one drops. At least adding it to the rotation so it gets worked on. For my New Year, New Start, I am going to do the new Long Dog that just dropped, Penance. So I am looking forward to starting that. It will be my first Long Dog. And then I did this weekend have chance to go to the Jingle Ball, which was my first retreat and my first online retreat. And I had a lot of fun there. A lot of the entertainment or the classes or whatnot weren't really calling to me. A lot of the designers weren't really in my wheelhouse, but I kind of just wanted to go just to kind of see what the tree was like. And just because I had a lot of fun with our round robin, like we have a Zoom meeting every couple of weeks, and I just have a lot of fun interacting with the stitching community there. And I knew that they'd have stitching rooms in the retreat that would be a lot like that, and I figured if nothing else, I would just have fun in there. And that's basically what I did. I did spend, well, all of yesterday and then most of today in there, and I just kind of went back and forth between the stitching rooms and the speed dating. And I have to admit, when I first did the speed dating, not only was I a little bit nervous, but I was thinking, wow, 6 minutes, like, how am I going to sit here and talk to someone for 6 minutes? I don't think I had a single time where I didn't get to the end and be surprised about how fast that the end got. I think there was only one time where the silence was kind of like there was a couple bits of awkward silence, and so I was like, And so when I was like, all right, we're getting within like 30 seconds, like, okay. Most of the time it was like, oh, by the way, we're getting within 15 seconds, or you just suddenly look up because you got cut off in the middle of a speech and you suddenly realize, oh, hey, like, we ran out. So I never, like, there were a couple of times where I really wanted to extend, but I never saw that it was running out of time because I was too busy talking. And so I never really, I think I extended once that I managed to successfully extend. And the rest of the time, I just got cut off. So I had a lot of fun with that. I've heard a lot of people who are new to retreats go into it with a lot of like nerves and get really stressed out. It was a lot of fun. I would definitely suggest it for anyone. There are a lot of things where you could just leave if you thought like, oh, and they would just think, oh, you lagged out and you had an internet connection issue. But I never had that issue. Normally you're just running into another person, you're answering again who you are, where you're from, what you're stitching on, and then by the time you get to that, you'll have about a minute of actual talking that you're doing with them about whatever topic that you got led off into, and then you're moving on to someone else. And you get about 5 or 6 people between the sessions, and then you get back into the stitching rooms, and then you can get back into more speed dating. So I had a lot of fun with that. I did run into Selena. I can't remember what her tag is here on YouTube. I will tag that link down in the description below. But we were talking because I was stitching on my House of Book Dragons, which is by the Stitch Crypt, and she happened to have a pattern there by the Stitch Crypt, which was funny because most of the people I've been talking to were like, oh, the Stitch Crypt, I'm not familiar with that designer. And she was like, oh, yeah, I know them. I actually have a pattern from them. And she held it up and we were talking about it. And she was talking about how she wasn't sure if she was going to start it for her birthday or not in January. And I was like, well, that's funny. My birthday's in January too. What day is it? And she's like, it's the 31st. I'm like, well, that's really funny because that's my birthday. So we have decided that we are going to start a dragon together on our birthdays. So that's going to be fun. And so I have added that to my plans. So the only other thing I'm thinking about is the new start that I just earned. Because since the other ones are kind of being planned for the future, I'm not counting them as having to earn my boss keys to get them. But I don't know what I'm going to use the key that I have just earned, or the 5th key that I just earned, to the new start that I just earned. I don't know what I want to start with it. I'm really torn. On one hand, I have Once Upon a Fairy Tale by Amy Stewart, and so I'm really like considering like starting that one. On the other hand, I do have Year of the Dragon. I can't remember. It's by Yas Studios. He's a Japanese watercolor artist. I got it way back when it was the free pattern for the Year of the Dragon that he'd put out. And I was really excited about it, but then I kind of was looking at it and I was thinking, oh, I think this might be AI. And I finally went and did some research because I saw another of his patterns that's a tiger, kind of like a mer tiger. It was really interesting and I really was liking it. But I went and looked at the studio and I like did as much research as I can. And as far as I can tell, he's just a Japanese watercolorist who does digital art. But he doesn't use any AI in his things, at least anywhere I can see. None of his things say a single thing about AI. So I'm really tempted to start that one. So I keep going back and forth between Amy Stewart or the Year of the Dragon one. So if you have any feelings one way or the other that you would suggest, one that you would like to see me start and work on, please put it in the comments. Other than that, that will be my future stitching. I am going to, like I said, keep working at least once a week on the round robin so that way it's ready. I'm going to keep powering through House of Book Dragons so that way I can have a piece of my own stitching up on the wall. And then, like I said, I think Darkthorn Keep is going to be put on hold until I finish the Christmas stitching, because I'm about to get started on that tomorrow, because I have to get 2 ornaments done before Christmas, and then I'll pick that back up. So thank you if you all stuck around, and once again I'm really sorry about the 20 seconds video. Somehow the webcam decided to disconnect itself and I didn't notice that. So I will try to ensure in the future that the audio is there before I upload it. I normally try and click on to it and give it a couple of minutes just to play so that way I can make sure it's working. I must have not done that last time because I was tired and just trying to get it out. So I will do better about making sure that gets hit in the future. So thank you all for coming, and I will see you guys all next time in a couple of weeks.